Okay, welcome back to the another video where in this video we'll learn about layouting the screens. It's very important because not every screen will have just an image and a text. Few things should be labeled in a proper way, like horizontally or vertically. If you are already know about web development, if you are familiar with web development, then this concept is like quite easy for you people. Just like some few concept is been taken from there and it's just been laid in the Flutter also. So layouts in the Flutter. See, layouting is nothing but, see, if you could see this example only, there's a three elements that you can see. That is like one element, second element, and a third element, which is lying next to each other. It's like in the row. But if you go in specific about one element, if you see only this element, where this element has two other elements, right, which is in the column wise. I think you're getting the concept. If you could only see the main 1, 2, 3 things, which is just like a like it is arranging in the row wise, where if you observe a single element where it is aligning in the column wise. Sometimes you have to layout few things to make how the app should look like. So if you could see here, row is the thing it is explained. What is this image is explaining how row and column is being placed. Row, if you consider this and this as a two elements, then which is aligned in a row, and if you take this element separately, where 1, 2, 3, 4 or 3 elements have been placed one under the another, that is column wise. Okay, this is a simple example that you can see. If you keep on going down, you'll understand what is like row and column wise, how it is being shown. So now let's try to do the same thing and see what is row, what is column, and how to make use of it. So back in the code, so let's remove this text field. So now let's try to use the column first, column widget, where if I type column and hit enter, this column will take up a element called children, not child. Every time, if you could see, usually we used to write a child, but column we used to write a children because these are the widgets which is capable of taking more than one element. You're getting the point, right? This can hold this because of that only we make this as a layout building widgets. These are like a layout building widgets. This because it can hold up more than one element, one child. So inside this child, let's try to keep a one container. Let's keep a one container which just takes up a little height of 50 and a width of 50, and let's give a color to it, color of red, and hit save. You can see a red. Let's just increase this to 150 at least, or like 100, so you can see that box properly. Yeah, you are seeing it. So we have a one child, that is a container. Now it is like a simple box. So let's try to, as it is named here children, which is like more than one element. If you want to create one more element right below here, you just have to make sure you are separated with the colon. Just copy the same thing, come back below here, paste the same thing. You can see the two container, but let's try to change the color so that it is visually visible properly. See, there's a two container, one is in the red and second one is a blue blocks. So let's create one more container and let's change the color, this blue to green. Here we have three separate elements which is in the column, which is placing one under the each other, and it has a specific height and width to it. So let's see what are the properties that we can apply to this column. There's a two things you have to know about this. One is a main axis alignment and cross axis alignment. What is this main axis alignment and cross axis alignment? When it comes to column, when you want a main axis alignment, it's nothing but main axis alignment is nothing but it in towards the direction of main axis, that is towards the vertical direction, how you want to place this element. For now, the whole element is taking up the whole screen. If I just try to give the color to this column, so there's no color for the column, just add one more element called, just wrap it with the container, and let's try to give a color called a black. Let's not give black, let's give gray. And if you could see, it is actually taking up the whole container. I mean, the whole container has been there, but it is just been placed towards the upside, right? Towards the top it has been placed. Just remove it. Okay, let it be there, so it is easy for you to understand. Now let's say I want to place this element or each children towards the bottom or towards a space between. How to give a space between or equally spaced? What can I do is I can use an element called main axis element. Main axis is towards the vertical. How you want your children to be aligned? So how do we use it? We have a property or a widget called main axis dot. We have few property, like you want to keep this whole thing in the center. When I hit on center and I have not yet saved, what it does, it all three elements will be in the center of this container. See, just like this. It's just the placement. If instead of center, if I do space between, it will be aligned, or it will be separated in the space between, like it is given little space equally towards each element. Then space evenly is, it is even considering the outside, it is even considering the margin also, I mean towards the padding, towards everything, and it is evenly spacing out. And we have end is nothing but towards the end. Usually by default, if I don't give this, it will be placed towards the starting. Clear? This is the alignment towards the towards the vertical axis. How do you want to align or keep the element towards the vertical axis? Now let's say if you want your elements to horizontally fully occupy, you want this element to be horizontally take up the whole spaces, what we can do is we can change this to 250, where one element is the width of the one element is quite larger. And if you want to align like this, if you want to align the element towards the horizontal, we have one more element called cross axis alignment. Cross axis alignment is towards the horizontal. If I write cross axis element, we get a few property like a center, and if I just click on the end, every element will be settled towards the the end of the line. If I hit save, see, everything will be settled on the end. If I do start, it will be towards the start, and center as expected, it will be by default it will be in the center. And many things are like baseline or stress, the baseline doesn't apply. And we have something called, let's do end this. Okay, then we also have something called stretch. Stretch is nothing but it is going to stretch everything evenly. Okay, this is the one thing. Or we can also do one thing, that is, instead of stretching everything, let's give this width as full. How do you give it? We can just write a double dot infinity, which will takes up the whole thing. I can just come down here and write a width as double dot infinity and double dot infinity, which will takes up the whole thing. Now how can I space? We already know how to space in a vertical. Just we have to use the main axis alignment dot space between or space evenly, which will be aligned like this. And cross axis will do nothing, it is like towards the horizontal. Now since it is a width of fully, it is now in the proper section. So this about the column. What if I want to do that in the row wise? I want this element to be seated next to each other. I'll just replace this row to the column. When I hit save, there will be no element because we made it as a space between. Just remove this, and if I hit save, and we have given a width of 150, let's remove this 150 because Just crossing the limits. So just remove everything this. Let's give a particular width so it doesn't go out of the screen. See, you are seeing this yellow color stripe line, which is saying that whatever the content we are placing which is going outside, it is going outside or it is be not shown to the user. So what you have to do, we have to just have to maintain the width properly. Just give this as 100 and 100, which will sit. Okay, it is perfectly fine. Now it's good to go. Now it is in the row wise, right? It is sitting next to each other. So okay, now if you want to keep your elements spaced between each other, what you'll do, we'll just use the main axis element dot space between. Same thing, it will be arranged element in the space between. Same way in the start and same thing. Okay, now if I want to make if I want to stretch the every column, or I mean vertically, the height of the each container to be stretched, what I can do, I can just go to the cross alignment. I can write cross alignment dot stretch, which will stretch to the full container, or I can just make the height as the double dot infinity. Okay, and the next question, let's say I don't want to make this space between or space around equally. I want to give a space with the particle like a customized. I mean, I want to give a little spacing, not a too much of spacing. What can we do is, we can use a one more element or one more widget called a sized box. It is just like a container. Just like a container, it will take a height. See here, we are using a row, which means the distance or gap between them should be a width, not an height. So I'll just write a width and a 20, which will be little gap given towards that. Just copy the same sized box and come down to the each container and paste it. You'll see the gap. What if I change this to column, which will be placed like a column wise? And if I want to, here the width, here you can see the gap is not working because sized box you have given the width, but here the condition should be an height. The box should be of height 20. See, you have to change accordingly. So this how the layouting widget, that is a row and column, works. So try to do a lot of challenges. Go and view some of the media queries where a lot of challenges will be given for the beginners to work on the layouting stuff, and I'll be uploading few challenges in the further videos on row and column also. Do attend all those things. So that's all for today's video. In the next video, let's try to make a small profile card with the concept that we learned as for now, that is container, using container, and row and column, that is a layouting widget. Using that, let's make a little UI based on that.